Good evening, everyone. Just put up a comment here and pin it real quick. Thank you for joining me tonight. This is the 23rd episode of the Urban Bourbon Hour, coming to you live from Chicago, Illinois, right here in the Urban Bourbon Bunker. Tonight I have a really fun guest, Tim Piersant, founder of Chattanooga Whiskey. Tim is a friend of the show. He's been on before, so it will be fun to have him back and to kind of get caught up with everything that Chattanooga has been up to. I think Tim was on about a year ago now, just about a year ago, so very similar time of year, and told us all the history of Chat, so we probably won't get a ton into that tonight. We're just going to talk about some of their new things that are going on, and then we'll see where we go from there. I see Chat Whiskey is in here, and there's the request. From Tim. Thanks for joining, everybody. Tim.
What's up? How's it going, dude?
It's going very well. How about you?
Good.
Yeah, you outside?
Yes. I don't have many places to run and hide these days.
So it's out to the patio, huh?
Yep. I got sleeping kids inside, upstairs.
Yeah.
Wife trying to wind down downstairs, and
so you're outside.
So here I am. I'm outside. Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you. I do have to thank you for coming on and for joining me. I know it's an hour later there, and just taking the time to chat. It's always fun to talk to you. And I was just saying right before you hopped on that you were on just about 1 year ago, almost like to the day, I think. And it was just after you guys had released your first true releases from your distillery, the 91 proof and the 111.
Yeah.
Which was really cool to hear all about all that. And you gave us a great history on Chattanooga. But what have you been up to the past year? Because I know a lot has happened. You have a new release out now again.
Yeah.
So kind of catch us up on everything that you guys have been doing over the past year.
Well, really just getting established with Chattanooga Whiskey 91 and 111. That's been our main priority, which has been a lot, because that transition was a big deal to us, because we were coming off of a product that we had been on for the better half of a decade.
Yeah.
So just making sure that our relationships were secure, and then getting the messaging. The messaging was critical because it was a different product, and making sure that people understood the connections between the old product and the new product. That there were connections. That we didn't go from selling whiskey to selling gin. It is still bourbon whiskey. But then, of course, getting the Tennessee High Malt messaging right and making sure that, because it's a new thing.
Yes.
And if you just mention Tennessee High Malt to the average consumer, they're going to have no idea what it is we're talking about. So that was all. It all went really well. I mean, this past year's been incredible. I mean, 2020 has been an incredible year for Chattanooga Whiskey, and so we were super excited about the launch of 99 Rye, which is kind of was one of those. Sweet. Yeah. So what's cool about that is, again, that's one of those things that we scaled up from the experimental distillery.
Yeah. So I think I heard you talking about that. That's what I think is so cool about you guys. So this is actually a product of something that you guys had put in a barrel, basically as like, is this going to work?
Right.
And then
Right.
you get to a point where you find some things, which I think was the case with 91, and then now here with the rye, and you're like, okay, we can scale this up into a product.
Yeah, it was technically batch 7. So of our
Wow.
experimental releases, it was batch number 7. And we began releasing our experimentals in August of 2017, and that started with batch 001, which was the introduction of Tennessee High Malt and what it was, what the batch 7, so the 7th release out of the experimental distillery was Tennessee Rye Malt. And so that it was that recipe that we scaled up.
Wow.
At Riverfront. We didn't. So here's the thing: we scaled up about a dozen recipes at Riverfront, and so it wasn't just assumed, or it wasn't really necessarily the plan that rye malt was going to be the first line extension off of 91 and 111.
Yeah.
But as because we scaled about a dozen recipes up, we've been making plans for all those recipes, and then so I guess throughout that process over the last couple of years, it was determined that rye malt, over the last year, that rye malt would be the next best thing to release. And then we've got a couple of more line extensions coming up over the next 12 months out of Riverfront that we're super excited about. And then experimental, man, we're still cranking away on experimental. We had our batch 15 which is a coffee liqueur, is being released.
Wow.
Tomorrow. And we've done a number of experimental single barrels that are, some of our oldest product and some of our most complicated. Yeah, I mean, those things are complicated. So, we're not slowing down there.
Yeah.
Which some people may or may not know, but even though 91 and 111 was the culmination of the first 2 years of putting away about 120 barrels of experimental recipes, we didn't stop. So
that is awesome.
So now you're talking, since we've been putting away experimental recipes for over 5 years now. I mean, this past March was our 5th anniversary at the experimental distillery, and still, I mean, just about every week we're putting away a new recipe. So I think we've put away well over 300 experimental barrels in that time frame. So
at what point do you guys get so you're doing all those experimental things, and you said you have actually scaled up about 12 things. At what point do you figure out which one of those experiments you're going to scale up, or do you just do it from the beginning?
Everything has a rhyme and a reason. A lot of it has to do with obviously our long-term plans, but also at how do they fit together, is really important.
Sure.
So we don't have products they're all very complementary, but they have nice contrast as well.
Sure.
And so at this point, and here's the thing, we always want to be innovating, but it's just not realistic to have 25 SKUs on the shelf. You know what I mean? So we want to get to a foundation to where we've got a solid 5 or 6 products offerings out of Riverfront.
Sure.
And then continue to make those better, and then continue to push the envelope at experimental. Now, it's not to say that as we release experimentals that someday we might not retire something or refresh it or something like that, right?
Sure.
And that's where that innovation is so critical. But yeah, we actually have, I can't go into it yet. I want to, but we have an amazing product coming up next year that'll be released in about 11 months, I'd say.
Okay.
And it's going to utilize more than one recipe, and ongoing. It'll be a blend of recipes, and we're really excited about it.
Oh wow, that's very cool.
So yeah, I mean, in theory, we could do single barrels of 12 different recipes out of the distillery, but But you know what? Single barrels are a pain in the ass, so I don't think I want to do that.
Yes. So you guys have, speaking of single barrels, you guys have kind of started offering that now, offering single barrel picks to some retailers, right?
Yeah, but we don't do a lot of single barrels. I mean, we did less than 30 single barrels this year, and next year we don't have plans to do many more. So, and just to clarify, I said many more, not any more. So we will have single barrels around, but they're just not our top priority. I mean, they're great, and they're great for, I'll tell you, experimental single barrels, we love.
Yeah.
We love the Riverfront single barrels too. There's just, we're trying to, we're doing our best to keep up with 91, 111, 99 rye, and then 2 other products on the horizon. And single barrels take a lot of time and a lot of energy, and they'll always be a part of our offering. They probably just won't be the priority to us that they are to a lot of other brands.
Yeah. I mean, I could see, I know enough about the single barrel process where I could see where it could somewhat be a pain in the ass for the distillery. I mean, it seems like it eats up a lot of time and energy to service the single barrel. That's just my perspective, kind of looking at it.
Well, and it depends on how you do it, right? I mean, if you do a single barrel right, like really put the energy into it, then yeah, it takes a lot of time. And here's the thing, like I'm not shy about it. I feel like we put as much or more into our process than anyone else. And that's how we treat single barrels too. And even just the selection process for us. I mean, how we select our barrels going into the Solera barrel to just bottle 91 is like its own single barrel process. So when you're talking about taking a single barrel and really putting it out there and making sure that it's the right, it's the right product, it takes a lot of hard work, and it definitely it can interfere with some efficiencies.
Yeah, I definitely could see that. I do want to talk to you again about that Solera barrel for the 91, because I think it's a really interesting way that you guys go about doing that, and then doing your bottlings from the Solera barrel. For people that aren't familiar and don't really know about that product and how it's actually aged and then bottled, can you explain like your Solera process that you guys have there?
Yeah. So our Solera barrel is not a traditional pyramid system where you have one barrel stacked on 2, stacked on 3, etc. It is one barrel. It's a 4,000 gallon white oak barrel. So it's the same contents of a traditional 53 gallon New American white oak barrel that we fully mature our bourbon in before it goes to the Solera barrel. So our Solera barrel we don't refer to it as really an aging. We refer to it as finishing.
Yeah.
But it holds approximately 153 gallon barrels worth in it. We only send Chattanooga Whiskey 91 through there. We do not send 111 through there. And, 91 both 91 and 111, and I think some people know, but many don't, that they're a combination of different toasts and chars. Yeah. So they're half, when we have a batch coming out of a fermenter being distilled, we take half that distillate, and half the distillate off of that batch goes into a 4-char, and then the other half goes into a 3-char with our own custom toast profile, Profile 91, which is just a really long extended toast. So for when you're bottling 111, they're 50-50. A bottling of 111 is 50% 4 chars, 50% 3 chars of the toast. When we're producing 91, again after they're fully matured, greater than 2 years old, they go into the Solera barrel, and so it goes in the Solera barrel unfiltered, cask strength. And it's 50-50. Once again, 50% of the barrels that go into Solera barrel to make 91 or 4-char, 50% or 3-char with a toast. But they also sit in different parts of the rick house as well, right? Yeah. In the barrel house. So which has an impact on flavor. And there's so many flavor driving components that we can get into. Obviously, aging is just one of them. But within aging, there's a lot that can happen. And so the Solera barrel just allows for those products. I mean, so it stays full all the time. You never, if we draw it, say it has 100 barrels in there. If we draw it down 10 barrels to do a bottling run, we immediately go and find 10 more barrels. We hand select them. We literally go through like a single barrel process where we are sampling and noting on every single barrel before we load it into the Solera barrel.
Wow.
What you're doing is you're just constantly gaining character, because of the different nuances of all the barrels and how they've aged, and the 20 to 30% difference in taste profile just between the finishes, just between a 3-char and a 4-char with a toast, right?
Right.
So you're just constantly you're layering complexity over time because that barrel never runs dry. So if you put a X barrel in there and you put Y barrel in there and you go to bottle it later on, like you cannot perfectly extract X barrel and Y barrel, right? They'll always leave something behind for the other barrels to pick up and commingle. So it does help with consistency as well. But that barrel, that 4,000 gallon barrel, will always be full, and it will evolve. Its complexity, nuances, its flavor profile will just continually evolve over time, and that's what we'll always bottle 91 out of.
That is an amazing explanation. First off, I mean, it's so cool to hear the process, and like for you to explain like how like it's almost agonizing to select what you're filling it back up with, because you guys care so much about that quality that even goes in the first place, which is really cool. That Solera, that giant Solera barrel, 4,000 gallons, I think I may have asked you this before, but how long does one of those, like what's the life on one of those?
Hopefully long after I'm gone. I don't know if my kids will end up taking over the business, but if they do, they better take care of that Solera barrel. That's all I got to say.
That's your baby over there, huh?
Yeah. It's my favorite thing. It's my favorite thing to drink out of, man.
Oh, I can imagine.
Walk over, and not everybody gets to just walk over and pour out of a 4,000 gallon white oak barrel into their glass. No,
they do not, which is a pretty cool thing to do. So let's go back, if we could, to 99. What are you drinking there?
I'm just drinking 91 tonight.
All right. So this 99, I do want to talk about this because I feel like this is one of the more unique ryes that is really in the marketplace. Because of, first off, it's all the rye, the malted grains that you have in the mash bill, which is everything except for the corn is malted. That's in the rye, and I think that's the same with all of your expressions. Everything's malted except for the corn, but it's a 4-grain rye too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is also you don't see that really. You see 2 and 3 grain ryes.
Right. It's very much, I mean, it's in the Tennessee High Malt family. Again, 4 grain, 3 malts. And not everything we do, for the record, is 4 grains and 3 malts. But a lot of what we do is 4 grains and 3 malts. Yes. It's one of those things where it's like, again, I kind of like to use the analogy that, like, if a lot of straight bourbon whiskey is milk chocolate, Chattanooga whiskey is dark chocolate, and that's kind of how the rye is too to other ryes, right? I mean, a lot of ryes are, they have kind of a traditional oak and spice to them, and Chattanooga whiskey 99 rye, because it is malted in 4 grains, and it's got a very rich spice character to it, and it almost lends itself more to your bourbon drinkers than your rye drinkers. So we're kind of finding that some people, they're not sure they like a rye because maybe they just haven't explored it, or maybe they had one bad experience. But when they drink this, it's more akin to a bourbon. So
I totally agree with that. And in fact, I did a flight recently of ryes that are for bourbon drinkers that don't think they like rye. And I had this in the flight. Like, this should be one of those ryes that a bourbon drinker who's like, I don't like rye, give
Yeah.
them this. And that's not to say it doesn't taste like rye, but it has a connection back to bourbon that is recognizable for a bourbon drinker.
Yep.
It's just a really cool product. I think it tastes like it's got like this really deep cola and baking spice
Yeah.
on the palate. It's so good. It's not like a lot of things that are out there in the rye realm. It's quite a different profile, which is so refreshing to taste it. I think someone mentioned in the comments, like, it's a great change up from all of the 95.5 ryes that are like everywhere,
Yeah.
It's such a nice change from that.
Yeah, I mean, again, our approach with Tennessee High Malt and everything under the Tennessee High Malt style of bourbon and rye, et cetera, umbrella, is it's not to, like, rewrite history. It is, we are doing our own thing, but we're after a certain flavor profile. We're after kind of a, kind of this roasty, toasty, rich flavor, baking spice, graham cracker type flavor profile, and different varieties of that richness and those flavor components. And so when we go after a rye, it's going to be a variety of Tennessee High Malt, but it's not, your rye lovers should still hopefully love it because it's still primarily made up of rye grains. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it is 99 proof, which I really like. I mean, it's and I like it because it's obviously in between 91 and 111, but also that viscosity. It still holds on to a lot of great viscosity at 99 proof.
Yes.
But it's still, because rye can be spicier. Sometimes high proof ryes can really bite, and and so coming in at 99 proof, we feel like it's still approachable, but it's got some nice texture to it.
Absolutely. And nothing you guys do is filtered, so it's all non-chill filtered products.
Yeah, we don't do any chill filtration, and with a lot of our products, we go straight up unfiltered, allowing char sediment to pass through. So.
But you can see that in some of the, I think the 111. You can see a little bit of that in there, which I love to see that in the whiskey.
Yeah, a lot of our 111 bottles, you'll see a kind of a cluster of dust down there.
Yep. Yeah. So talking about the rye, we talked about how it's unique, yet it kind of harkens back. Do you guys, I know you said you have a new product coming out next 10, 11 months. At what point do you guys sort of like narrow in on those new products before you actually decide to actually do a release? Is it like a couple years in advance, a year in advance? Obviously, it's at least a year in advance because we're here now.
Yeah, I mean, it's at least a couple of years in advance. As far as like the exact date that we're going to release them, we have no clue because the whiskey really determines that, obviously. We try to be strategic about like the timing and making sure there's no real attrition and that we keep we stay true to our momentum and our brand. So, but I mean, these most of these recipes were produced in 2015, 2016. So you're talking about at least 4 years ago, 4 years minimum. So, we scaled all the recipes that we'll be coming out with, including the 99 rye and these other two launches in next 12 months. It was all stuff that had been created a long time ago. So, so, they've been in the works. We're just, we've got the framework and the foundation, but then really finding out exactly where the puzzle pieces land. Yeah. that's usually in like the year and a half leading up to the release.
Yeah. When you do a new release, so like for this rye, does it automatically get distributed to everywhere you're at, or do you slowly like just start in Tennessee and then move it around and then slowly expand it? How does that work for you guys?
Yeah, I mean it depends. So volume obviously is a big factor there. And so with 99 rye, we're trying to get it to all of our locations, but it won't make it to all of our locations probably in the first 6 months to a year. I would say by next year, hopefully everybody gets a little bit of it. We don't make as much of it as 91 and 111. So there's not quite as much to go around. Also, we want to protect the integrity of the quality, right? So right now there's just what it's comprised of, including the fact that it was launched at over 3 years old.
Yeah.
Because it was launched over 3, we've already created that standard, right? So we don't want to go backwards. We don't want to go under. So we really need to protect the integrity of the quality of the product, which is so most of our major markets are going to get some, but it's going to be pretty allocated everywhere.
Yeah. Well, speaking of major markets, there's a new one that you guys are adding or has been added.
Yeah, man, we're pumped to come to your neck of the woods. Yes. So we've decided to roll into Illinois, and when we decide we're going to go into a market, it's a big deal to us, and obviously nothing is really ideal with in the era of the virus, but we feel like Chattanooga Whiskey has a lot of momentum right now. No pun intended, because we're going with momentum beverage.
Yeah, it's true, actually.
But we've got a lot of momentum. We've got some, we have a nice shelf set between 91, 111, and 99 rye. We've got, like I said, a couple of great products coming out in the next 11 to 12 months, and we've tackled the Southeast for the most part, and we continue to drive deep into the Southeast every single day. We're not going to take our eye off the prize, but we feel like we can begin tackling the Midwest, and start focusing there. So this is not like hey, Chattanooga Whiskey is going to just all of a sudden like be in 50 states in the next year or two. It's just not going to happen. Yeah. We're not ready for that. We put salespeople almost everywhere we go. Chattanooga Whiskey's story is a pretty complicated story, and our messaging is fairly complicated. So going to all 50 states would be very challenging for us to be able to do our product justice. Yeah. Like we have to do this right here. Like we have to have these one-on-one conversations to really explain to people the process of Chattanooga Whiskey and what the style of Tennessee High Malt bourbon actually means. Yes. So we're talking about Illinois.
Yeah, we're super excited that you're going to be here. And if anyone's watching, we're going to do a Zoom call with Tim and John, who's one of the main sales guys there at Chattanooga, in a couple of weeks. So that'll be fun to do that, to introduce a bunch of people to Chattanooga here. So I reached out to a bunch of people today, and if anyone's watching and you're in Chicago, shoot me with a message, and we'll get you hooked up for the Zoom. So have you been doing like a lot of that type of stuff, like Zooms with groups and stuff across the country during all this craziness?
This is my life now, man, right here. Like I live in this screen from here to here. Like this is. I actually have no body beneath this, Chris.
It's just a head at this point.
Dude, I'm all neck and face. That's it. Like nobody wants to see anything else. It's just all right here. So yeah, man. It's and I love it actually. It's been. I feel like this is some of the things that we've stumbled into with being forced to to live digitally.
Yeah.
Not all have been good, but I do think, interactions on some interactions on Zoom or just doing this type of business on Zoom. I would do this if there wasn't a pandemic. The fact that I can sit in a room digitally with 30 to 50 people and just shoot the shit, and them actually legitimately be, they can ask the same questions that they would if they all came down to Chattanooga and we sat in a room together, right? So I love it. I've done probably, I don't know, 20 of them, and it's never gotten old to me. I really enjoy it.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, I think I was talking to someone else about this, and you kind of have to make the best of this crappy situation we're all in. And there are some things I think that are happening that in the midst of all this shittiness, some good is coming out of it that may have not otherwise happened, even in business and personally with everybody these days. So it's definitely been a wild ride, that's for sure.
Yeah. It's my wife, I think she just assumes that starting at 9 p.m. every night, I'm gonna be out on the patio, on my phone or my computer, talking about bourbon. So it's what I love. It's awesome.
We've got a couple questions here. Let's see. Yes, Paul, they use the same. It's the same mash bill.
It is. Yep. 4-grain, non-GMO yellow corn, malted rye, caramel malted barley, and honey malted barley.
Yes. And we got another question here. This is a funny one.
Yeah.
from Dad's Drinking Bourbon.
Hey, I gotta say, man, John, he's gaining on Bruce. He's putting the work in.
Yeah, no days off, right? No days off.
John, don't let that go to your head.
He'll take the compliments, that's for sure.
I'll never call John Edwards coach.
All right, that's a good tip, actually. If I ever meet him. We've chatted online here a couple of times, but so I was saying to you earlier today, I was going to throw you a softball question. I was going to prepare you in advance.
Yeah, right.
This is episode 23 of the Urban Bourbon Hour.
Oh, I didn't realize that was the significant. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. So episode 23. I think you were on previously. It was episode 4.
Okay.
But we're at episode 23. So the significance of that in Chicago, 23 is a sacred number.
Yeah.
So
it's a sacred number everywhere.
Yeah, that's actually true. The question to you was going to be, what's the greatest number 23 ever? What athlete is the greatest number 23 ever in your mind?
It's not, to me, it's not even a question. It's Michael Jordan. I mean,
people would argue LeBron James.
Trust me, I understand. I grew up playing sports. I love sports. I love to watch. I still watch them. There's definitely some people that could probably out debate me in statistics,
Yeah, right.
In terms of I've seen and I've watched enough, and I feel like we're probably similar in age. You might be a little younger than me. I hate to say that.
I'm older than you. I know for a fact that I am.
Really? Well,
yes.
The Chicago air is doing some something. So, well, I'll be 40 in July, and so I grew up in the Michael Jordan era.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
And of course, when LeBron came around when I was in college, I remember watching LeBron, ESPN broadcasting his high school games.
Oh yeah.
And so, LeBron is, in some ways, he's kind of reinvented the position at guard and just with his size and dominance. But I mean, look, man, here's the thing. It's so John Lawrence and I were actually on a road trip today.
Yeah.
And this is connected. So I'm not just chasing a squirrel here. But But we were on a road trip today, and he had Howard Stern on, and Howard Stern was like, so he's just asking, the top 3 rock bands of all time.
Ooh, damn.
And he listed his top 3 rock bands, and he had some callers come in just, going nuts on him.
Yeah.
But his top 3 rock bands were, number 1 was the Beatles, number 2 was Rolling Stones, and number 3 was Led Zeppelin. I would probably not put the Rolling Stones in the top 3. I would definitely put the Beatles and Led Zeppelin in the top 3, for sure. Yes. And look, like when you're talking about rock and roll, like the Beatles have written some unbelievable songs. I mean, obviously, but the thing is like it's the whole package, right? I mean, it's when they did it.
Yeah.
It's how they did it. It was their innovation. They were the first to do it. Like all that, all of it matters. It all matters. Yeah. And so, dude, when at the end of the day, you'll never be able to take that away from MJ ever. Yeah. And you could argue that MJ was definitely a purer shooter than LeBron is. MJ won titles when he wanted to win them. You know what I mean? He won 6. He went 3. He left, came back, immediately won 3 again. So the way he changed the game, the way he changed the culture, and to the degree that he won championships, there is no argument. There's no argument. MJ is number 23. Dude, LeBron wouldn't even be wearing 23 without MJ wearing 23. LeBron didn't come up with 23. That's MJ. He should have. What was LeBron's original number? 6 or something?
Or 6 or 9 or something. Yeah, I don't even know.
He should have never abandoned that.
I like that, and I'm not going to argue with you. I'm from Chicago and grew up with all those championship Chicago Bulls teams, so that was like my life back then. Just those Bulls teams. With even the 2 years that Jordan was gone, they went to the Eastern Conference Finals one of those years and lost to the Knicks on some straight up BS. Yeah. But they were still even good when Jordan wasn't there. So like that 8-year span was ridiculous.
Hey, I got a train running behind me.
All right.
Probably gonna blow its horn, but it'll go away eventually. So
there it is. Yeah. All right.
So that's when you know you're downtown. Well, actually, maybe. I used to live in the suburbs when I was a kid. There was a train there, so I don't know why I said that.
Yeah, we got the L train going by our place all the time.
Nice.
So talking about the rock bands. Sorry, we're going to go off on tangents here. We're at that point. We're at that point now. We've talked about the whiskey. Now we're on the tangents.
Yeah.
So the rock bands.
Yeah.
So you said you agreed Beatles, Led Zeppelin in the top 3 that Stern had there.
So who's number 3? Is that what you're going to ask?
Who's number 3? Is it someone? Is it a band from your like? So you had to have grown up in the 90s.
So here's the deal. Like I didn't just grow up in the 90s. I played music my entire life, and so I was like, I've got an older brother. And my dad, we were all 3 of us were musicians. We all played, together. And I was in bands all the way through like middle school, high school, college, etc. And in my parents' basement, like the walls were covered with, every grunge, band. We had any friend who had musical equipment, they would just bring it over to my parents' house and leave it in their basement. So,
oh man.
So we had it was dude, it was nonstop. It was my life, right? It was nonstop.
Yeah.
It was like I play grunge music for 3 hours and then I stopped to go watch Michael Jordan whip some ass. Like that was my life. Like
and then go back and play some more, I imagine.
So I have, I personally feel like that every decade, kind of like prior to the 2000s, some people might.
I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna agree with what's about to come next. I'm gonna agree with
every decade prior to the 2000s had some significant cultural impact.
Yes.
I don't feel like there is a genre that has really had necessarily a significant cultural impact like it did then. I'm not saying that that it's not still influential. I'm just saying the impact to a culture, the way that people dress, talk, act, everything, right? I just feel like so the Beatles, like from a rock and roll perspective, I would even argue, you might argue that the Beatles were like more pop than they were rock and roll, right?
Yeah.
So there isn't, but you can't just say like, you can't just take them out of the argument. So I would say because of so obviously I might even put Led Zeppelin at 1 and the Beatles 2, just from a rock and roll perspective, and that I think long term. I mean, man, well, they both changed the game, so it doesn't matter. They're both 1 and 2. For me, I'm going to go out on a limb, and I think kind of a limb, not for me, but I think like Howard Stern, listening to him argue, he would like freak out on me if I said this. But I think it's Pearl Jam. My number 3 is Pearl Jam, and the reason it's Pearl Jam is because like the 91 or whatever, 90 to 94 was to me the last super significant genre cultural changing era when it comes to music, and Pearl Jam led that. They were the biggest back then. They inspired a lot of people to dress certain ways, talk certain ways, play music certain ways. And when it comes to like rock and roll, they were badass, right? So I just feel like the Stones, they were super influential, but they were also surrounding, and Pearl Jam was surrounded by a lot of great bands too. But anyways, that's my 3. I'm sticking to it.
I feel like I like the pick. I feel like the Rolling Stones were like a band that was hugely influential, but they were taking from Elvis Presley, or they were taking from, well, they were even probably before that, but like they were mixing genres. I feel like they were taking stuff from R&B and mixing it into rock, which is influential in its own way. I guess that's probably a bad statement. Every band is influenced by somebody or some genre.
No, most definitely. I mean, and there's so many. I mean, like Jimi Hendrix. I mean, incredible rock and roller. But anyways, if you're forcing me to pick 3, I'm going Beatles, Led Zeppelin, Pearl Jam, and it does seem Pearl Jam's like kind of way out there, but I think they were as influential as any other band out there. So.
I don't disagree.
That's your neck of the woods, right? I mean, what's their tie to Chicago? Is he better from Chicago?
I don't know if he's from here, but he loves the Chicago Cubs. He's like a Chicago Cubs fan.
Yeah, I know.
Like he was always at games, and like especially during the World Series run, the guy was like everywhere. Like, where has he been the past few years? And then all of a sudden, the World Series season, Eddie Vedder's everywhere.
Hey man, you guys don't need MJ. You don't need Eddie Vedder. You guys have Harry Carey. That's all you need.
It's a lot of good people from Chicago. That's for sure.
Which, by the way, I on the bourbon charity event, I was on vacation. Yeah, for bingo night. My brother does an epic Harry Carey. I put him on there.
I saw it.
Dude,
yeah.
I feel like that just went over everybody's head, man. I don't know. I mean, like maybe not, but I was dying.
I loved it. It didn't go over my head, but it maybe like if there's people, but I mean, I feel like Harry Carey is like a known like person throughout, like no matter where you are. I feel like he like kind of transcended Chicago.
I would love to have a bourbon with Harry Carey.
Oh God, he would drink you and I under the table in a second.
No doubt.
That
Definitely.
guy. There are some stories about that guy and like the parties he would have in the booth while like a game was going on, just getting after it. I mean, interesting guy. It would have been interesting to be like his partner, you know, doing games, like being Steve Stone back in the day, like doing games with Harry Carey, and like the guy just hammered, you know, and you're trying to announce a game with him.
So are you originally from Illinois?
Yeah, I'm born and raised in the Chicago. I grew up like in the suburbs around Chicago, and then moved here like pretty much right after college, and
Okay. Cool.
ever since. Yeah.
Where did you go to college?
University of Illinois, the Fighting Illini. Yep.
All right.
You're an Auburn guy?
I am an Auburn guy, yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty much, you know, all football for us, but, you know, I went to basketball games and baseball games when I was there, but, you know, you could just walk right in and choose your seat. So. Although we just had an incredible run to the Final Four and we should have, dude. Virginia. Somebody just asked about Virginia in the comments. I saw it. They took it from us, man. They took it from us.
Yeah, they did have a nice run. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yep.
So John made that comment about Bruce Pearl. I saw you posing with Bruce recently on the Instagram, I think.
Yeah, last night.
Was it last night?
Yeah, last night. Yeah.
That guy seems to be a character.
Dude, he is, man. He is, and when you talk to him, like, you get it. You understand, because if you watch him, he's wild on the sidelines.
Yeah.
And when you hang out with him in person, like, he's 90 miles an hour all the time. All the time.
Yeah, that's insane. He's just like a walking party.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And his cool. We converted his son to a big Chattanooga Whiskey fan. So.
Oh, that's cool. Very cool.
Yep. Yeah, so, John and I did a nice romantic cottage together on a farm.
Very nice. I've seen John in here making a few comments.
Oh yeah.
So back in the day when you were growing up and first getting into computers, did you have an AOL? Like, what was your username on the AOL account back in the day?
I think it was Tibby Toddy. I don't even know where that came from. I think it was like my brother had a cold one time, and when he would say Timmy, it sounded like Tibby. And I love tater tots. That's what it was. It was those two things together. I ate tons of tater tots, and man, I haven't even thought about that username because, dude, when we were growing, like in high school and college, you learned to type on instant messenger, right? Yeah. Like that's how AOL instant messenger. That's how I started typing like 100 words a minute.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I don't know. It just talking about all that stuff in the past, just like some reason that popped in my head, like the AOL Instant Messenger, like usernames on there. There was some funny stuff back in the day.
Oh, dude, I used to wait. I see some that Godfrey Bourbon just said dial up. I remember 56K modem.
Oh yeah, that was the shit.
It was a way of life, man. Waiting for that shit to happen was a way of life.
That was, the dial tone, the ringing, the beeping, all that stuff.
If everybody back then that was old enough to like even try to look at anything that was bad, it was only a matter of time that you got caught because you couldn't click out of anything, you couldn't load anything fast enough, nothing happened fast enough.
No. I mean, compared to today, it's like just so worlds apart. Like I can't even imagine, like that period of time computers compared to like what we're carrying around or what we're doing with our phones right now. It's insanity.
Yeah.
It's funny. So the band thing. This is an interesting question. So if you went back to your wedding day and you could have any band play your wedding, what would it be? Would it be Pearl Jam?
First of all, I have to let you know, very depressing. I did not have music at my wedding.
No music?
No music. None.
What?
No music, no dancing.
Oh, so you just got hitched and had a party or what?
No. We had a big wedding, but it was at my in-laws' church in South Alabama. So no, it was a beautiful wedding, but no music, no dancing, which is very unlike my wife and I. Very.
Yeah.
But if we did have a band and dancing and throwing a proper party,
Yeah.
if I could have any band that I listen to,
Any band you want, go back to your wedding day and you can have them play your wedding.
it's my wedding day. Like I don't want grunge.
Pearl Jam, right?
I don't want grunge rock at my wedding, man. Like,
That's a tough question, I guess. I didn't. You're thinking that you're putting deep thought into this.
you can't dance to grunge rock and roll. You can, but you'll look dumb doing it. Dude, I don't know. You know what I would probably do? I'd probably just get one of like our Auburn fraternity band parties, like those guys that just they all like funk. I'd go straight straight funk.
Oh, I like that. I like a good funk band.
I used to love, dude. I grew up playing Herbie Hancock, man.
Oh yeah.
Watermelon Man, dude. I played Watermelon Man constantly.
Herbie, man. A lot of people don't know like how much of his music they've heard. They just don't know that it's Herbie Hancock, which is amazing.
I got to see him live in Knoxville.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Oh, that's very cool. Herbie Hancock in concert? Yeah. I would be down for that. So fast forwarding to this year, what's we've been talking about the past, but this year, what's your favorite thing that you've purchased for yourself in 2020? Anything? What do you got?
That's a good question. I'm at a loss. We did some house updates that I feel like I just went straight old school, man. This past Saturday we went to Home Depot and Bed Bath & Beyond. I don't know if we'll go anywhere else. I'm not sure if we'll. I don't know. They don't have time.
That's fine. No, I think that's a perfectly acceptable answer. I'm a pretty, when it comes to here's the thing, I love cars and I love boats, but I don't buy it really either of them. So, what is it? Actually, we've always had a boat in our family and we love to be on the water. I would say ask me that in 2021 and I've got a plan. So you got some plans for some purchases, huh?
Yes, or not purchases, but one purchase.
Gotcha.
But right now, man, it's all work and no play. Timmy's a dull boy.
Well, that's fine. Hey, that's sometimes that's the way it's got to be.
Yeah, right.
What's something that you really like that most people really dislike? Is there a TV show that you're a huge fan of and nobody likes?
Well, I like that.
I have quite a few friends that despise Seinfeld, the show Seinfeld, and I really I think it's genius. But that's
Dude,
like an example for me.
Yeah, but you're in the majority.
Yeah,
You're not in the
true.
minority.
It's true, actually.
I'm thinking about something I got to be in the minority.
Yeah.
I mean, like, all right. Sorry, I'll get back to that. But here's the thing: greatest sitcom of all time.
It's either, oh man, All in the Family is a good one from back in the day. Now that's kind of, I remember that being on, but that wasn't like a show that I watched.
Yeah.
So that's like a historical, I know, all-time great. I've of course watched all the reruns and stuff of that. Kind of racy for its time, and even today it might be some of the things that were said in that show. But greatest comedy of all time.
Sitcom, yeah.
Sitcom. It's got to be Seinfeld or the Larry David on HBO.
All right, I would say it's got to be Seinfeld or The Office.
Ooh, that's
and for
can't
me
argue with The Office.
And for me, it's The Office. It's like it's become now. I love Seinfeld, but The Office has become a way of life since I've been married with kids. Well, even before kids, but like it's just, dude, my blood pressure just comes down as soon as it comes on. So
I don't think there's any argument against. I mean, you can't argue against The Office. I give it to you. I mean, that's a freaking ridiculous sitcom for sure.
I don't, like, Curb Your Enthusiasm is incredible, but it's not. It's like it's not really for TV. I'm just thinking, like, if you're gonna sit down. I mean, back in the day when we used to actually watch things on PBS and ABC and stuff like that.
Yeah. The swearing might get to people on Curb Your Enthusiasm, although great sitcom.
I still haven't thought about that, or I don't know what my I don't have a good answer yet.
Oh, that's fine. We'll move on from that one. What else was I going to ask you today? All right, here's a good one. I was thinking about this earlier today. If you had a sandwich that was named after you, maybe you already have one somewhere in Chattanooga named after you, what would be on the sandwich? He's like, why did I agree to do this?
No, I'm going. I already have the answer, but the answer is sad.
All right.
It's a sad answer. I mean, like, I love PB&Js, man. Like, I just, maybe I'm a PB&J guy. Like, I don't know. I mean, hey, look, PB&J, like, people, the phrase, they go together like PB&J is for a reason, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
So yeah.
I'm
just trying to keep my life, man, between the PB and the J. That's all. If I can keep it between the PB and the J, I'm good.
That's a good spot to be right there. I think that's a good place to end this conversation. We have the countdown happening right now, Tim. We're at about 1:30. So I just want to thank you. I mean, I had a ball talking to you as always, and being able to just laugh and talk shit is fun. So thanks for doing it.
I agree, dude. It's always good to hang out with you, Chris. I look forward to hanging out with you in person in Illinois.
Yes, that has to happen, and if I can ever get down your way, the same. So, but I'll see you again virtually in a couple of weeks.
Yep. Yeah, man, I'm really excited, and hopefully we can get some of these people on here to log in with us.
Yes, we will. Cheers, and thanks a lot, Tim. Take care.
Cheers, Chris.
Have a great night.
You too, man.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining. I know that that conversation veered off of whiskey, but those are the funnest conversations to have, I think. So thanks for joining tonight. If you're watching this on the replay, subscribe to that YouTube channel and sign up for those notifications. But until next time, guys, cheers.